reading for a very good reason. I have mentioned it a few times. However, um, over the course of this case, the first 24 hours of it, actually, I built and deployed a structured system which basically was to organize publicly available information during an active missings case. Okay, I will get into more about the tech involved in this and what I created, but the goal is simple, just to bring clarity to a situation where information often gets scattered across like multiple platforms. We've seen in critical situations like the Nancy Guthrie case about how certain things get reported, new leads get reported, and then they kind of backtrack on that. We've seen different news, like anchors, even delete whole articles of things that they said were related to the case and all of that. So, without getting too far into that side of things, I do want to say that the space that I created, if you are interested and seeing a lot more of the nitty gritty details as I continue to do this video series, you can go to Reddit and search in the search bar, find James Gracey. Okay. I am the moderator of that group. I did not expect it to grow to the capacity that it did. We currently have had 116,000 visitors with currently almost 500 members. Um, and that's not to boast, but it is to show what could be done in a short amount of time when you are being thorough. Okay. Now, aside from that, I want to say this was not at all about speculation or even commentary. That space is specifically dedicated to structuring information and getting solid facts with sources. So again, if you want to follow this case in depth as we go along with the video series to like accompany that information, um, go over there. Okay, so and I'll get more into that stuff, like I said, at a later point. Right now, what I want to anchor down is the case of Jimmy Gracey. Okay. Something is not adding up about this. Um, Something is really not adding up in Barcelona as a whole right now. I have some information coming out of there about like how the news is reported, how they handled cases and all of that. But back on this, what we saw here was a 20-year-old American college student. He goes out with his friends and he never makes it back to his home, his Airbnb at the time. Now, I'm talking about the case of Jimmy Gracey, the student from University of Alabama. He's originally from Illinois, Elmhurst to be exact. He was studying abroad in Barcelona at the time with a group of other students. And on March 17th, sometime approximately around 3 a.m., he was last seen at a beachfront nightclub called Shoka. Okay. He was wearing a white shirt, dark pants, and a gold cross necklace. I'm sure some of you have seen that picture floating around. Okay. Now, he was out with his friends, but somehow he just never returned to the Airbnb. That is the last confirmed moment. And that's where things shift. Okay. This is not an open and shut case. Let me be clear about that. Of course, Jimmy has been found, but at the end of the day, the facts are still kind of like missing gaps. And we're here to kind of like unpack that. Now, let's just get into the environment for a second because that's super important. Um, this was a crowded nightlife environment. All right. Tourists, loud music, low visibility. And right outside, there's a huge beach and different points of the beach. And I think there's even technically different names for different parts of the beach as well. So we basically have this small, narrow, but a very critical window of like what happened between him leaving that club and not coming back. Now, um, there's a few things as far as like some of the logical pathways in the case, as far as like how he got disoriented from the group or separated from them. There's also a possibility of an interaction with some unknown individual. There were reports but not verified, of him possibly being talking to a woman, a young woman with brown hair, apparently. Um, there's a possibility of him moving toward the water, but again, that wasn't necessarily confirmed at the time. And then we had phone activity that was silent. I think his family had pinged his phone and they saw his location. The police ended up arresting someone who had the phone on their person. So, um, we have that. There was also something about a wallet that was uncovered, but they still did not verify if that was actually Jimmy's. Okay. Now, right now, those gaps are still open. Energetically, this does not feel random or clean cut. There's a lot of confusion energy, a lot of fragmentation, like there's a break in continuity. So take that as you will. um, Now I did this reading. I pulled these cards. What you see is actually not a live video. This is actually just a picture. I took pictures of the spread so I can kind of go through it in detail and you can see the visual of things as we go along because it is crazy to me how this came together. I held off on doing this reading because of my involvement on the non-speculative, not, non-intuitive element of me trying to just collect information and create this hub for what could be used for his family in the event that this case goes cold or whatever. Even law enforcement, journalists, if they wanted to, get a quick summary of the line of events future in the future, that's what the purpose of that was. Now, when I did this reading on March 18th, I just left these cards on my big island in the kitchen. I have not touched these cards because I was having a hard time with delivering the message. I hope I don't get emotional. Um, because unfortunately I have kind of like tethered myself energetically to it. My I'm a little bit emotionally involved in the case, more so than I would like to be. So take that as um take what I'm going to talk about and what I say moving forward as intuitive context, not fact. Again, I've created that live investigation thread on Reddit. Everything that you see there was posted in real time. So as things came in, that's when it went up on the page in live form. Okay, so there's a lot there as far as the timeline. There's even a thread on witness accounts. There's a section for verified only type stuff. There's even one thread specifically dedicated to those who were reaching out trying to give intuitive impressions on the case. um but again, because this case is still in motion, I wanted to be careful about doing this part because I know what the perception could be. And also, the page that I created, someone reached out to me that was close to the family, specifically Jimmy's mother, and that person mentioned to me that they thanked me for doing the page, which it felt weird to me because I mean, I just felt like it was my responsibility to do it at the time based off of the energy I was picking up on. And I just want to be careful about this reading because, excuse me, God forbid, if you put yourself in this situation, if this happened to someone you know, someone you love, the last thing you want to do is come across something like this and it just make you spiral more into distress. Okay. So I say that to say share this video to as many people as you possibly can because I'm going to do my best to deliver this message specifically because the energy of Jemmy came through. Now, if you have been following me on this channel and my previous channel that I had, I've always said that I am not someone that I don't consider myself to be a medium. I definitely don't talk to quote unquote dead people. That's what I, said flippantly, not to be crass here, but I am an intuitive with a gift. It's more like remote viewing. I'm able to kind of go right here on the display. There are um there are a number that is so weird. I hope the audio is okay. Now, the cards that came out, I ended up leaving them as is at one point, and then I organized them kind of based off of the color because for some reason certain things started to fit like a puzzle. So this spread that you're seeing right now kind of tells this story of what appears to be a vacation of some sort. Obviously, uh also keep in mind, and excuse me, bear with me because I'm going to be coming in and out of like not, I don't want to say channeling. It's just more so of picking up on specific messages, and there's details from the original reading that I just have to remember. Okay, so this was supposed to just be a fun, adventurous event, a situation where Jimmy just felt like he was gonna be having fun. Now, there's something about blue, like the color blue. I don't know if that's his favorite color or somebody was wearing a blue article of clothing. I have no idea. But it looks like there is some type of female energy here. Uh for some reason he said something about her being sweet or kind or something like that. This waiting in line card here where you see like the people like in a line, that is kind of like giving me the club energy. Now, all of these details in the front, we can kind of come back and forth to this at some point. The gist of it is kind of like the basis of the story. Now, down here you see these images of people. Now, these cards when they came out, it was weird because I was like, it's strange that they all look the same. But this had to do with Jimmy's energy. Something about him saying like he felt dumb, like this was like a dumb thing to do. And then specifically he said like the one time I'm not like on my P's and Q's, this happens. And when he was saying this, um, he was weeping. And this is what makes it, excuse me, this is what makes it kind of like hard to do the reading because he was like crying. He was crying, but it was like he was upset. He felt like he had done something stupid. Um, and he's kind of like embarrassed that this happened. Something about him feeling embarrassed. He couldn't speak up, or he feels like he doesn't have a voice. When this case kind of like closed, what, on the 18th? Or no, he was found on the 19th. When this case closed on the 19th, his energy was, like I said, weeping, and it was him being concerned that like the public would forget about him. Um, because he said something about like us being like passive, like just chalking it up to whatever. And we've seen that kind of play out now, right? People have kind of made this an open and shut case where it's a college kid. He got drunk. Oh, he slipped and fell, possibly fell in the water when he tried to pee in the ocean or whatever. Maybe he got lost. Maybe he got mugged. There's all these different speculations, but it's very, very clear what happened. He was confused about something. This middle card right here with this guy, like, and look at these pictures. It looks like versions of him or people that would be around him. Um, Again, he's 20. So this haircut, you kind of have like a little messy broccoli kind of blowout, whatever that haircut is. A couple of his friends have the same haircut. So that it's something about like him being confused or disoriented about something and feeling stupid about something. Now this big brother card is here. And I don't know if this is talking about like somebody who is around him, but it does feel like it is. Okay, he's saying it is. This is somebody who's around him. Now, I'm not going to speak on specific names just for the sake of respecting the boundary of this investigation. I do not want people to be harassing other people, but I know who he's talking about. Somebody was there. He was waiting, either waiting outside, waiting around a crowd. Something about him getting left alone is significant, or losing them. I lost them. Now, when he was also weeping, he mentioned something about he mentioned they left me all alone, or they left me. And then it kind of seemed like it was talking about two different things. One being like at that moment, and then him feeling left alone. I think this is like more so after he had been found at this point, where he's feeling left alone. Now, I do want to move on to this other spread that I have. Let me replace this. Um, Hopefully I don't mess up the sound. Okay, should be the next spread that comes up if it will go. Hold on, I'm trying to load it. Please bear with me with all of this. Like, I don't have my editing in the bag right now. So I could have done this a different way, but I just feel like the best way for me to do this right now was the live of this. Come on, what's going on? I may have to post these later just for the sake of time because I just don't understand. Here we go. Okay. Now, let me move this over. Can we move this over? Sorry, guys. All right. Now, the first card that came out here was Don't Believe the Official Story. I just need everybody to pay attention. Like, if you care about not just, you don't have to be involved with a specific person or care about a specific person per se, right? If you don't know them. However, if you are concerned about the way the news cycles work and the way that we get verified and unverified information here and there and how it's all scattered over the place, then you would be interested to know how these details came out. Okay, mind you, again, I said this reading happened on March 18th. All right. Now, don't believe the official story came out. Right next to that is search changes. So they went from looking in one direction and then they started going somewhere else. That eventually did happen. They started looking near where his wallet was found or where the phone was found. I can't remember. And that would be Port Olympic. Okay, there's a little spot called Port Olympic. We'll get into that in the other videos about the details, but there's something there. Now we have a matriarch hid truth. I don't know exactly what this refers to. This could just be in reference to a woman involved or nearby that knows something. Okay, there's something about a foreign or domestic terrorist. This could just be a criminal. It doesn't have to be like, they're coming out with big guns. This doesn't have to be like a national security issue, but they are in over their head. They could have tattoos with this covered in symbols. Okay, now we also have paranoid and rival. This is where the question about the big brother comes up. Something about the energy between Jimmy and this big brother is actually like some type of rivalry. Um And maybe Jimmy knew something about that. Maybe he kind of knew that this person was either jealous of him or had a big ego, something like that. But this girl situation came up, and I feel like this is kind of where the jealousy stems. Um, Now this part I'm going to speculate because I couldn't quite understand what he was saying. It had something to do with like possibility of like, say for instance, a girl is showing interest in Jimmy, and or they're talking or whatever, but this other big brother actually likes the girl and becomes jealous of whatever. Now, not saying the big brother did anything, but Jimmy felt like it was necessary to bring up the fact that this person doesn't like him or is jealous of him in some way. I don't know. um hidden evidence hidden evidence nearby is right next to that. Okay, so that could be in reference to the phone and the wallet during a holiday event. This is technically holiday for them, so that could be what the situation is. Cult mentality is right underneath that. Now this is where I started to have a problem. The cult does not have to be this crazy bruja club, cult type situation. This is more so about, um I was picking up on the fraternity that he is a part of, Theta Chi. I hope I'm saying that correctly, but the XO, the Greek letters XO, whatever that is. Um, Something about them sticking together or going with a specific story or settling on a narrative, and that's kind of like what they're going with. That card got clarified with victim complex turned predator. Now, part of the reason why I stopped here is because I started thinking about hazing and frat culture, and how just people can be in social dynamics and groups, the hierarchy of all of that. um and this is kind of where something about like them being separated. But you know what this reminds me of too, because now it's making me think of like, say for instance, you are at a club and someone that you like or shows interest to you, and you are talking to them or whatever. There's something about like either someone seeing you and they want to end the night. You know how when somebody wants to end the night early, they want to go home all of a sudden because they're not having fun. It's something about that, but not quite. Okay. Now, we have witness within range. There's somebody who saw what happened. Hidden love affair is here. Again, I don't know what that's about. That could be, listen, I know Jimmy apparently had a girlfriend back home or whatever. I don't know if she was in Barcelona. I don't know. I don't know if that's the girl that they're talking about. I don't know if it's another girl. Again, this is an intuitive read. Please leave me alone. Don't sue me. Now, we have found in water right next to it. Found in water right next to it. Underneath that is hidden evidence nearby. Like, what are we talking about right here? The hidden evidence is found in the water. That's where we found in Jimmy. Now let's move over to the right for a second. Where I said that this person is in over their head. They have symbols on their body. Something about 1 to 3 miles from the origin, 5 to 10 miles. So it's kind of like this small um perimeter, or like the mapping of this location is kind of easy to follow. It's not like they had to go all the way back to the Airbnb. um these cards are pointing to like where the incident happened and where he is, where his stuff is. Like that's heavy where his energy is, like along the beach, found in water, whatever. 1 to 3 miles, 5 to 10 miles, whatever. Transport energy card is out here, how the movement happened. So something happened between 1 to 3 miles from the origin, and then why this route came underneath this. I cannot believe these cards came out like this. Now, these spreads that you're watching right here, this I didn't rearrange. The color ones I rearranged because that's just how my intuitive brain works. Like sometimes I have to like move stuff around, but the details don't change. Now, something about them moving things from this 5 to 10 mile radius or origin point or whatever. There's something about it being convenient or to conceal something. There's something symbolic, something forced happen. So there could have been some little struggle of some sort. Now, this is where the speculation gets in. When you go back to the thread, find James um Gracey on Reddit. if you go through the mapping theory thread, there's full on discussions of different locals. I've also posted on cross posted on different subreddits. So you may have to kind of like do a little scavenger hunt by looking on my username Karmic Central, and then you'll kind of be able to see like my history of where I, my digital footprint and what's been posted. Now, I've had conversations with specific Spanish locals that were talking about the fact that young people don't even go out. Like the young locals don't go out, especially not at this nightclub, because this type of stuff happens all the time. Apparently, like people are repeatedly either manhandled by like I think there was some case that went down with the bouncer of this club at Shoka. There's incidences that are around the immediate perimeter where people get mugged, things are taken from them. um there was even a situation where someone said that a lot of times people will have like some incident, they'll be taken to another location, um tortured or whatever, and then brought back to the water and dropped off to make it look like, oh, they just fell in. Okay, so let's follow that. Let's move on to this other, um this last little spread, because I don't want this to be too long. There's a lot to unpack in this case, and I just need to make sure that everything is kind of like chunked out so it's easy to follow. Now, this luxury sports car, um can you see this? Let me see if you can see. All right, so you see here that at the top of the card, or at the top of this little tower, there's the luxury sports card. And we saw that sports car also over on the color cards, the blue little Corvette something. I don't know if that's like a car that was just around, um, if that's just like parked outside in the environment, or if somebody owns that that's close to the cake. I don't know. Listen, no forced entry yet signs of struggle. We're not talking about forced entry into a home or something like that, but no forced entry, but signs of struggle. The way I'm interpreting that is it doesn't look like something extra or foul play happened. However, there's obviously a sign of struggle. Now, the struggle could be, did he struggle in terms of when he fell down, the rock area? Because I think it's like a lot of rocks by that little ledge or something, um or what. But this detail is super important because, of course, if you're an investigator, if there is someone who has all these beat up marks and he's, bloody perhaps, of course you expect him to have, had an like interaction with the rocks, so that's what's creating the wounds. But again, locals have been talking about the fact that he was seen bloody. Now, this is the first time I'm hearing this today. Someone actually just sent me some stuff. And there was also official reports from Spanish news about a person that they arrested, like I mentioned, but this is a repeat offender who's well known with law enforcement over there. Like they pick up this person a lot. Now, we don't have details about this person's identity or their rap sheet, what they're involved in, what they have, what their criminal history or background is, right? But the reason why we don't have that has to do with Spanish law. Apparently, Spanish law does not allow for the locals of the country or whatever to post about official reportings. They also don't have access, or their law enforcement does not present cases to the public the way that we do over here. We arrest somebody, there's a perp, we know who that person is, there's video, we know a name, something. They don't do that over there. There's a whole longer reason why. I'm oversimplifying the whole thing just to get through the reading, but that's that. Now, let's go to the next section. It says official cover up falls apart. There's something about this case. that there's going to be a break. We're going to come back to this. Mark it now. We're going to come back to this because that don't believe the official story card goes with this official cover up falls apart. It goes with it. Right next to it, I was set up. This is where this is where he got upset. Okay, this is where the energy kind of got really heavy. He was making just kind of like very simple messages. I was set up. New statements. New statements are coming. Okay, so whatever the official story was, not saying law enforcement is in cahoots with this person. I'm saying that this is a person of interest who has done this or similar crimes, and there may be some new statements from other people. Now, the other card that comes out that are coming out soon. Now, the other card that's right next to that is the public or passive consumers in this case with an exclamation part. This is where he was weeping because he feels like it was like he was feeling like nobody's gonna remember him kind of thing. Or if they let this go, like this will kind of be it, which is the perfect scenario for somebody who does this, for someone who may prey on tourists, especially American ones who may be coming from an affluent family and they kind of have that, look. I'm sure he was, if that is the case, I'm sure this person kind of felt like this was a lick. And the perfect scenario would to leave him by the rocks. And then everybody would kind of make this a closed case. We would all move on. Now, um, for the last row, the empath in the mirror. This goes back to the rival big brother. Jimmy is the empath. The rival big brother is the mirror. It's something about Jimmy's spirit that's really sweet or really likable. Again, I don't know any of this specifically. Nobody from his family has told me this. This is what I'm picking up on him being a very sweet, kind of spirited person. Um, Almost could possibly be misconstrued as someone to push over just because he may be like passive about his reaction or non-reaction, something about that. But I'm gonna move on. Contracted betrayal is here. Something about him being kind of like I said, a lick. So this was contracted in the sense. I don't think it's like this elaborate, like, oh my God, he's some type of specific person that they were looking for. I just think it was like wrong place, wrong time type of thing. Now, the living are currently being haunted is the card that's underneath here on this last row. The first card, you can't see it, but the living are being haunted. Um, that card, these gray cards, if you guys have been following, this is usually like direct messages from those that are supposed to be crossing over. And there's three cards here. Usually I don't get them unless it's like a specific thing. But when I get them, it's maybe like one, maybe two, but three came out. So currently right now he could be um there could be some people around that know a little bit more than they said, or maybe they have some information. Message for the public is here. This is literally Jimmy. Okay, he wants people to know that this is not like the official story. To not let this kind of go to rest. Don't forget about him. The middle card that's here, I forgot why I made this card. It's called the Blue Hour, and then I put in quotation marks concealment. And then right next to it is disoriented moment. So before I even got before we got official CT or CCTV footage of him, which I have not watched by the way, which is so odd because I've created this space with all this footage and I have not gone through it because it was more about collecting, not like investigating in nitty-gritty detail. But it could be helpful for these readings moving forward. So this blue hour concealment, it was like he did okay. Um the blue hour. Once in a blue moon, like the one time again, like I said, the one time I'm not on my P's and Q's, this happens once in a blue moon. They hid something from me, something is concealed, or they took something and hid it. Disoriented at the moment, like he was disoriented in those last moments. And I'm not exactly sure if it's just because he was under the influence of an alcohol type thing. Okay, that part is not clear. But him being confused in that first spread, like I showed you, where he felt dumb, there's something about that part that is significant and goes with this disoriented moment. The last card that's in this row is security camera, glitch, and partial. So, whatever it is that we saw, and I knew this from the beginning, and again, I have not watched the video. Because I just didn't want to see, I don't want to see anybody's last moments. Like, I just have never been um morbid like that in a sense, which is odd because I mean I'm over here being Wednesday. But anyway, so security camera glitch partial. There's something about the footage being incomplete. Like whatever they showed us, they're not showing us the right before and right after. He's saying there's something that's missing or cut out. It could even not be real. I don't know, because that's what I'm thinking now, especially since we have AI. I just don't, it's unfortunate that I just don't trust official reports anymore. Like it's really bad. Like it's terrible that I don't trust the media, even though that's like verified sources and all of that. Like because a lot of this stuff they even get wrong. And then, like I said, they've rescinded on articles that they posted on, at different points. So I just, kind of take things as a grain of salt. So that is a reading for this. I hope that kind of Lord, I hope that kind of like helps with some things. I do want to get back into this again, but I just had to get this initial message out first. I'm mad that I kind of like got upset, but anyway, this is what it is. Um, I wonder if there's anything else I was supposed to say. I think that's it for now. I don't want to overdo it. Right now, the most important thing isn't about the speculation. It's still about the structure, like following the timelines, those gaps in between. Again, you can go to find James Gracey on Reddit and you can see different things, different threads for specific topics. So one, there is the map thread, there's a time thread, there's the footage of that same night in the club. You can see video from the DJ's booth, you can see video of the crowd. Um, in that video, there are two specific songs that come on. One song was like the Bulletproof song, Titanium, by David Guetta and Sia. And then the other song was like Sweet Caroline, and I felt like those parts were important because those videos, one came off of Shoka's TikTok, I think. So I had to download those quickly before they, just disappeared. But that could kind of like anchor down a specific time. Like maybe if there's other footage within the club, they can look to see like, okay, this song played at this time or whatever. And I bring that up also because of this phone. I have a problem with this phone not being on Jimmy because whoever this person was, we don't know if they deleted something from his phone. We don't know what they did, if they were able to get into the phone or not. Most people lock their phone, but some people don't. And then he's a young boy. Who knows what he was posting to his social media? I don't know what those are. I've never looked for them. Don't plan on doing it really. If, I have some contributors on the page right now who may do that type of thing. Me, I just can't. I'm just here to organize the stuff together. Okay. Like, I'm not really, I can't do all of that. Like, I have the cards for that. Okay. So, and then it just, it takes too much energy out of me. So, because there's all these small details, um, the more eyes, the better. I welcome all different perspectives. If you have any thoughts on this reading, I ask that you put them in the comments below so I can interact with you. Please also go to the Reddit um, and see if there's anything that you can contribute to there, okay? Because anything can change at any given moment. I do feel like we are going to get some new information soon, like very soon. There's going to be some new type of statement made by somebody. I just don't know how we would hear about it because, like I said, the Spanish media does not work like ours over here. They don't spread info. They don't inform their residents in the same way that we do. Okay, so not saying there's a discrepancy there, but maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe they know how to keep details, you know, under wraps and not mess with the investigation. I don't know what phase of the investigation they're still in either. So there's that. But again, I need to get off here.